Welcome back to The Ordinary Guy 2.0. On Wednesday night, we confronted something uncomfortable. We talked about how ego defends while growth listens. How pride protects image but limits maturity. We asked hard questions about where we've been defensive, where we've needed to be right, and where humility would have built more strength than stubbornness. That was necessary work. Because before you can lead others, you have to master yourself. And tonight, we go even deeper. Tonight, we talk about consistency, not intensity, not motivation. Consistency. Consistency over intensity. Most men chase intensity, big moments, declarations. We want breakthrough nights and dramatic turnarounds. But growth doesn't usually happen in dramatic moments. It happens in repeated, quiet decisions. Intensity feels powerful, it feels productive, but it's often temporary. Consistency is quieter, less exciting, but far more transformative. The Ordinary Guy 2.0 doesn't build his life on emotional spikes. He builds it on disciplined repetition. Intensity can inspire you for a day. Consistency shapes you for a lifetime. Why men struggle with consistency? Consistency is difficult because it's not glamorous. There's no applause for waking up early every day. There's no trophy for controlling your tone in hard conversations. There's no crowd cheering when you keep your word. That's where character is formed in the unseen repetitions. Many men start strong, we make commitments, we feel motivated. But when the emotion fades, so does the effort. And that's where most growth stalls. Not because you're incapable, but because you relied on feeling instead of discipline. The Ordinary Guy 2.0 doesn't rely on emotion. He relies on identity. Identity drives discipline. When discipline is tied to emotion, it collapses. When discipline is tied to identity, it stabilizes. If you see yourself as a man who keeps his word, you don't need motivation to follow through. If you see yourself as a man who leads calmly, you don't need a perfect day to regulate your tone. Identity removes negotiation. The question isn't, do I feel like it? The question is this who I am? Consistency becomes easier when it stops being optional. The danger of emotional leadership creates instability. When your family doesn't know which version of you they're getting, trust weakens. When your team doesn't know if you'll follow through, credibility fades. Intensity might impress people briefly, but consistency reassures them daily. Children feel safety in consistency. Partners feel security in consistency. Communities feel strength in consistency. And most men underestimate how powerful that steadiness is. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be predictable in your character. Small habits, massive impact. Consistency doesn't require dramatic change. It requires small habits repeated faithfully. A consistent bedtime reflection, a consistent morning routine, consistent tone when frustrated. A consistent commitment to listen before reacting. Small disciplines compound, just like small neglect compounds. You don't become disciplined overnight. You become disciplined by showing up again tomorrow, and again the next day, and again. You fall short. Consistency doesn't mean you never fail. It means you don't quit after failure. Many men abandon growth because they missed one day. They spoke out of turn. They reacted poorly. They slipped back into ego. And instead of resetting, they retreat. The Ordinary Guy 2.0 resets quickly. He doesn't spiral. He corrects. He doesn't shame himself. He adjusts. Growth is not perfection. It's persistence. It's the power of showing up. Showing up repeatedly builds internal confidence, not loud confidence, quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't need validation because it's rooted in discipline. When you show up daily for your responsibilities, your reflection changes. You begin to trust yourself. And self-trust is foundational to leadership. If you don't trust yourself to follow through, how can others trust you? Consistency builds integrity. Integrity builds influence. Evening reflection, the consistency audit a night. Ask yourself, where am I inconsistent? Is it in my tone? My follow-through? My discipline? My attention? Don't look for dramatic flaws. Look for repeated patterns and ask, what is one habit I will commit to tomorrow, regardless of how I feel? Keep it simple, not 10 changes. 1. Consistency grows from simplicity. The long game. Intensity plays short games. Consistency plays long ones. The Ordinary Guy 2.0 thinks long-term. He understands that leadership is built over years, not moments. He understands that stability outperforms excitement. He understands that discipline, repeated daily, creates legacy. You don't build trust in one conversation. Build it in hundreds. You don't build maturity in one realization. You build it in repeated restraint. This is the long game. Closing charge. Tonight, choose consistency over intensity. Choose identity over emotion. Choose repetition over hype. You don't need to feel inspired every day. You need to show up every day. That's how ordinary men become intentional men. Thank you for being here. I appreciate every one of you who takes the time to reflect, grow, and do the quiet work. If this devotional resonated with you, leave a comment below. Please share where you're committing to consistency. I read them, and they matter. And if you're finding value in the Ordinary Guy 2.0, make sure you like this video and subscribe so you don't miss the next evening devotional. This is the Ordinary Guy 2.0. Responsibility before ego. Rest well.